uncomfortably staring into the future or perhaps even the sun. This is Tell It to Someone. First question is from Bomb In. How many of the dinosaurs in movies are real? Well, of course, you'd have to calculate which of the actual dinosaurs are real and which ones aren't. And of course, the birds, of course, are real. So that basically includes all the Hitchcock dinosaurs, because that's the only dinosaurs Hitchcock had. Anyway, what other dinosaurs there are? There's Jurassic Park, of course. They're not real dinosaurs. At least they're not. They're all genetically engineered. So it depends on what your definition of real is. And of course, the Harryhausen dinosaurs and Gertie the dinosaur, of course, are real in my heart, and that is what counts the most. Next question is from Canadian Atheist. What about Bob? I answered his question first. Next question is, of course, from Izef. Speaking of abnormal growth, how far can you stick your tongue out? Well, of course, I haven't measured it lately. Of course, people like me who are well endowed in that field don't tend to be so insecure as to measure it. So, what I'll have to do is I'll have to explain it while actually measuring it. All of that I hope that answers your question. Next question, of course, is possibly from Nish Brown. If a child could parachute using a fat lady's underwear, what would a fat lady use to parachute? Also, have you ever heard of Jimmy Crute? I haven't heard of Jimmy Crute. So, the fat lady, of course, would use some kind of parachute to parachute from, and then, she'd wear it, of course, afterwards. Depending on how fat she was, because back in the 1940s and stuff, they were the only real equivalent of silk there was. Sometimes they were silk, sometimes they were nylon. Either way, they were good underwear material for 1940s standards, because everything else was kind of wool or non-existent. So a lot of people in the 1940s were getting around commando style. And I'm not just meaning shooting Nazis on the beaches and stuff. Next question is from The Great Fish. Are dinosaurs real, or were all the bones we dug up fakes? And if so, who buried them? Well, of course, God would have buried them, and he would have taken a long time, about 65 million years, to get them underground and make sure they stayed underground. And just to be sure, so he could really cover things up, he would turn all of the bone stuff into rock stuff, so they were hard enough and rugged enough to actually survive being dug up and put into museums. So basically, God made dinosaur fossils and then allowed us to dig them up to fool us into not believing in God and therefore going to hell, because he's actually on that side of things. That's why he gets all those tricksy rules into the Bible. God wants me in hell, and I'm going to help him. Possibly with the next question. If Adolf Hitler had a time machine, could he have committed suicide after seeing what the world looked like around him? From, of course, the naked wombat. Well, okay, since I'm going to hell anyway, let's try this. Let's see. Now, all you would have to do is... Oh, there you are! Adolf's watching. I know he's watching. He's a big fan because, ever since Alex Jones was permanently banned, and he had to find somebody else, and everybody gets sick of Molyneux after a while. So welcome aboard, Adolf. Let me just recap you on the major events of the mid to late 20th century and the 21st century. Let's see. Right, so Germany, what happened to Germany was Austria got cut off, back off again. Alsace and Lorraine went back to France, and the eastern part went to Poland, except for a small bit of the extreme eastern half, which went to Russia, well, Soviet Union, but the Russian part of the Soviet Union. Anyway, after that, it took about 50 years, 40 or 50 years, about that long, before they managed to get back together. By this time, it was part of a united Europe. Unfortunately, that for you, that united Europe was in Brussels. So basically, the European Union started off with when Belgium and the Netherlands and Luxembourg came together and formed the Benelux Pact, and then slowly that Benelux Pact grew and grew and grew and became the European Union. So basically, after half of Germany was annexed by the communists. The communists gave it back, and then it was annexed by Belgium. Let's see what else happened. The Volkswagen, of course, your favourite car, that became notorious for being the signature car of people called the hippies, who were really not into having any kind of war. What else? There are free and fair elections, except, well, kind of the president of Russia kind of decides all of those anyway. So, as a big fan of me, I know you are, Adolf. I'm only talking to Adolf here. What you're going to have to do is go back to 1945 and shoot yourself in the head, because there's nothing for you here. So that's what I would say if Adolf Hitler came forward in time to watch this video. And I know he did, because he shot himself in 1945. It's a causal nexus flux thing. It all makes sense if you're a time traveller. That's it for Tell Someone for this week. If you would like to ask me a question, of course the question asking, hide the brand, because they didn't pay me. Then you can ask it to me, or tell it to me, the question, in the place where the comments usually get put. Or you can answer this dovetail question right beside me over here. Oh yeah, that's a beauty. I'm really being sarcastic, because I don't even know what it is yet, because I haven't decided on anything, because as usual I have put very little thought into this, apart from the whole Hitler thing at the end of it, which comes from the heart. It really comes from the heart. The heart. I'm dangerously talented, and I don't have a cool sight.